Hey fight fans, Micah Frankel, Cage Minds, here to throw a Cage Mind rant out. Got 3 topics today: Vitor Belfort, Frankie Edgar, and the Jose Aldo versus Anthony Pettis matchup. We'll start off with Vitor Belfort. Vitor Belfort, after head kicking and finishing off Michael Bisping at UFC on FX7, thinks he deserves another shot at either Anderson Silva or John Jones. I'd like to beg to differ. It took Vitor Belfort a 5-fight winning streak to then be able to get in line to challenge Anderson Silva, and lost by front kick to the face, 3 minutes 25 seconds of round number 1, UFC 126. Took 5-fight winning streak to get there. You win 2 more over Akiyama and Anthony Johnson, whatever those names are good for, and then you got the huge opportunity of a lifetime, UFC 152, John Jones. You almost submitted him by an armbar. Almost, and everyone wants to live off of almost, but almost only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades, and John Jones did finish his key lock in the 4th round to defeat Vitor Belfort, retain his title. Since then, Belfort knocked out Bisping. That is a strong, solid win, with the middleweight division up in flux, and with Vitor Belfort himself not knowing if he wants to be a 185er, a middleweight, or a 205er, light heavyweight. He needs to do 3 things. 1, get the weight class in order. 2, get on a win streak. And 3, make sure to keep his TRT levels intact. Looks like a whole new man this fight with that extra testosterone. And we can go from there. Decide what you want to do, decide where you want to be, win 2 more fights, and then we could see you maybe back in another title opportunity. But Belfort, I know he's old and he wants to get back to that promised land, but I think he's shooting a little high for saying I beat Bisping, someone as notorious for falling down in the biggest moments against powerful strikers. So we'll move on from that topic to the Frankie Edgar topic. Frankie Edgar, coming off of a close loss to Jose Aldo, UFC 156, his 3rd consecutive loss. Now, isn't Frankie Edgar just the luckiest man in the world? Not for having 3 consecutive losses, but for having 3 consecutive title fights, losing them, and still just talking about the next biggest fight he's going to get, instead of like most men in the UFC, when they lose 3, worrying about where's my next fight going to be at, who will I be fighting for. Frankie Edgar, in his last 5 fights, 1 win, 3 losses, 1 draw. The last time he finished someone was Matt Veach, the Ultimate Fighter, Finale 10. He had that Grey Maynard knockout at UFC 163. But in between those 2, everything that I can see on his record is decisions. He's had split decision losses, split decision draws, close unanimous decision wins, and losses. Frankie Edgar needs to go out. He needs to finish somebody. Dana White doesn't want him at 55. 45 is viable, maybe because he's already hit that peak of the mountaintop and fought with Jose Aldo. He does want to go down to 35 because he does walk around at 155 pounds like most 135-pounders do. So could the bantamweight be in his future? It could be. A fight with Uriah Faber would be great. A fight with Eddie Wineland would be great. Fighting the winner of a Cub Swanson versus Dustin Poirier, fighting Chad Mendes. There are fights out there for Edgar, just not title fights. He needs to get some wins, he needs to get some stoppages, and he needs to stop looking at the refs. If he doesn't finish the fight, we always say don't let it go to the judges. Frankie Edgar has paid for that 3 times, and I felt he lost all 3 times, and the judges were right. Frankie has to do a little bit more. Now we're going to go on to our last topic, talking about the August 3rd featherweight title fight that was announced, Jose Aldo versus Anthony Showtime Pettis. I was taken aback by this announcement on how easily it came. Pettis texted Dana White and said, I wanted the fight. Pettis got the fight. Anthony Showtime Pettis is on a 3-fight win streak. Unanimous decisioning Jeremy Stevenson, finishing off Joe Lozon, Donald Cerrone. Out of those names in the lightweight division, I only knew of 1 in the top 10 at the time, and that was Cerrone. It's sad from my point of view to think that Pettis doesn't want to fight Henderson or Melendez. But then again, maybe he does. We did hear a rumor that if he beat Jose Aldo, he would move back up to 55, which is utterly ridiculous. We're going to have a so-called super fight, as Pettis is not a champion. He's a nice name who has a loss to Clay Guida by unanimous decision. But we're going to bypass that, call this a super fight. Let him fight at featherweight and move back up to 55. So, totally just screwing everyone in the featherweight division. Totally screwing the rightful number 1 contender, Ricardo the Bully Lamas. Lamas, who has a 4-fight win streak, get that 1 fight more than Pettis is. Okay, that one fight, he beat Matt Grice TKO. Grice, not a big name. But Cub Swanson, Hatsu Hayoki, Eric Koch, 3 top 10 featherweights. A submission, a TKO, and a unanimous decision to beat these men. What more would Lamas have to do than beating, nearly a third of the top 10? You put him and Aldo, and you got half of the top 10 right there. He's beat the guys that he needs to beat in the division. The way this fight works out is the fight was made because of that cage kick that Anthony Pettis landed against Benson Henderson. He's a bigger star, a more marketable product, and therefore jumps over all of the harder working featherweights who have been working at this weight class, who are in their weight class, and they just get shoved aside. Nice move, classy act. I love that part about mixed martial arts where you can just make fights on the whims and weight classes don't actually matter. You got a title fight. It doesn't matter what weight class. You just got a title fight. Thank you for the clarification. Chael Sonnen, who probably after losing to John Jones will move to heavyweight and be given another title fight. It's nice to know that, the UFC admits it, that Kenny Florian and Chael Sonnen saying it on set on UFC tonight. The bigger stars get the bigger fights, go out there, talk trash, cause more controversy, get your name in the headlines, because being a hard hat and pal guy, taking yourself to the gym every day, putting in the work, winning the fight, staying quiet, doing what you gotta do, is not the way to succeed in the UFC. Not the way in this business. You have to create noise, controversy, you have to be able to sell yourself. Thank you for clarifying this, all of us, and actually coming out with the statements. Ricardo Lamas, hopefully he keeps going with the victories. I believe he will, and he will one day earn his rightful title shot. If there was any way for me to want to already, be distinctive who I wanted to win this fight, it's got to be Aldo, because hearing Pettis of his intentions to try to become the first guy to hold 2 belts in 2 weight classes and then be constantly backing up both weight classes because he's in one or the other doesn't sound like a dream to me. With the UFC trying to extend all of its divisions, bring in other markets, have it sounds like 100, 200 guys in each division, how are you going to be able to keep track if one champion's in 2 divisions? I get it sounds like a theoretical great, it's something straight out of the UFC video game, but for Anthony Pettis, I don't think it would be right, because how could it be right for the UFC? Unless he wants to fight twice a night, how is it right to have to space out title fights that much? He should be in one weight class or the other. Don't get me wrong, this fight will be great, it will be dynamic, and it will be explosive. But is it the right fight? I didn't think Jose Aldo cleared out the featherweight division, but obviously Sean Shelby, Joe Silva, and Dana White do feel that way because none of these featherweights are worthy of getting a title shot. This was an Uncaged Opinion. Cage Minds, Micah Frankel. Thanks for listening to the rant. You got a comment you want to fire back at me? You got another opinion? Leave in the message box with the comments. Thanks for watching.